Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just want to do a video on my experience today doing jury duty. So I was called in this afternoon. Wasn't a major inconvenience for me because I'm working part-time, and the courthouse is not that far from my apartment, so not a big deal. Bigger issue, I'm assuming, for a lot of people there with a family, job, all that kind of stuff, and people who work, a job that is where they got to clock in, clock out, and just dealing with all that. I'm sure it's a pain. You could tell there were quite a few people who just wanted to get out of there. And so, the whole thing starts at 1 o'clock. I show up, a few minutes early, and then we sit in, in this waiting area, on the ground floor of the courthouse, and not air conditioned, and there's like maybe, I don't know, like 300 people, who were called in that day, and it's hot, and you're sitting next to people on both sides. Thankfully they had Wi-Fi, so there was something to do, and while people were sort of filing in, and it's like, just, does it really kill them to put a little bit of air conditioning? And so that to me was absurd, that you're going as a volunteer because someone else committed a crime, or potentially committed a crime, and then we have to sit there in the heat. And so everybody, all these expensive buildings, all these bankers, they live in lavish, getting the nice air conditioning and all that, and then we peons get this hot box basically to sit in, to wait for people just simply to file in, and then to just get a certain amount of information from us, which they already have, like my age, my ethnicity, my background, where I work. They already have all these things there, so I don't understand why they're even asking us for it. They already know even like personal things about us. So the whole jury vetting process is insane, because they're asking us stuff that they could easily find out. And so, the elephant in the room, it's obvious that they already know all these things about us, many details about our personality and the things that we do. But anyway, just from that, sitting in that hot box, to then being called, 65 of us, over to one side, and then they call us out a number, one by one. They give us each a number, and they make this into another hour-long process, 45-minute long process, just to literally hand each person a number. And then they ask for a volunteer to read out the names, and then they're joking around, ha, like the guy's mispronouncing names and just making jokes. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here in my mind? I'm like, this place is completely stupid, and I'm like, this is insane. To me, again, being a flat earther and the things that I know now that are going on in the world, this is just, it's painful for me. You could see it visibly on my face and a lot of people's face, probably for a lot of different reasons. People had this look, but I was like, just, out of it. I'm just internally, I'm angry. And then so, I'm struggling to laugh if people are laughing. I'm just like, this is not funny, first of all, and this is just stupid, that something this simple is already taking 1.5 to 2 hours just to literally give everybody a number from 1 to 65. And so then the bailiff brings us upstairs to the 10th floor, and that takes another 30 minutes to go through security and then line up like little school kids to go into an elevator. And then we end up out front of the courthouse, the actual courtroom, on the 10th floor. And then there's this elaborate, sheet, and you line up in this numbers 1 to 17 line up here, and then all this, and then, that takes another, 10, 15, 20 minutes. And then, we're instructed to go into this courtroom, and then, in single file and all that kind of stuff. And then that takes another 30 minutes, just like something so simple, literally taking 65 people, giving them a number, getting them through security and bringing them up to the elevator. We're already talking about 2 hours worth of time. And, everybody else is enjoying it because they're getting paid for it. The bailiff, and then the lawyers and the judge and all that. So they're just like, whatever, let's just kill time, I guess. And so for them, it's just, a way to kill their day. And then so we go in. This is already like 3:30 at this point. And then so two or 2.5 hours just to literally get upstairs and have a number in my hand and then sit down. And then this literally, like, I was about to literally say something, with what I witnessed at this point. So I've done this before once, but way before any conspiracy theories. I was basically just a globe zombie, effectively, with a little bit of Christianity in me, religion in me at this time, many, many years ago. And then so, I'm literally a completely different person now. And then so, I see the world very, very differently is a better way to put it. And then so, I'm sitting there, and then this, the prosecutor, this, relatively young female, powers up, first the judge quizzes us on certain things. Does anyone know what indictment means? And I'm like, what is this? Like, this is a freaking ball earth flat earth debate. Now we're getting quizzed by the judge on different terms. I'm like, move this along, dude. We don't care about naming freaking, dictionary.com definitions of stupid legal terms. Just, this is insane, these are people, not necessarily me, because really I don't have anything that much better to do. I'm okay with sitting there and realizing more and more how stupid the world is. So I did benefit from it in some way. But, people have things to do. So the judge goes on her little thing, and she's like smiling, happy, and like, little did I know at that point what crime we were about to be told, this individual is accused of. She's like smiling, giggles, trying to, like, again, a witty zombie. Witty zombie to me is the absolute best description of people who are in leadership. That's what they're required to be. They're required to be happy and witty and just be a zombie, and a zombie is a person to me who's effectively an atheist. They don't believe in God. So like, they're just laughing, giggling, foaming at the mouth, just loving everything, trying to get us to, love everything that's going on, when like, this is stupid, and like, at some point during this thing, I remember God was mentioned. I can't remember if it was, us when we raised our right hand or whatever, but God was mentioned, and that to me, I was just like, made my stomach turn. I'm like, really? This is like, we're gonna really bring God into this courtroom? Are you kidding me? But that aside, the whole thing was a complete dog and pony show. And so the judge goes on her little spiel, trying to be like a witty zombie, and she was succeeding with some people. And I was just like, get me the hell out of here. And then so, she gives us a few little quizzes a few of the jurors, potential jurors, on some legal terms for whatever reason. And then the prosecutor, court-appointed prosecutor, I guess, or this woman would work for the county. And then so she powers up a PowerPoint. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening here? And then she's again quizzing us on like very, very obvious things, like, what are some things, a child would lie about? And then so first she explains to us what this person is accused of. And this individual was accused of like having an underage, a girl 14 or younger, fondle him. And I think it was a girl, like potentially his daughter. And so they didn't give us the name, obviously, of the girl, but like her initials. But I think it was stated that it was somebody in his family. I can't remember, but that doesn't matter. It was just some young girl. And then so we know why the person's there, and it's serious. And this court handles felonies. So this individual could get life in prison for this, anywhere from 5 to 99 years. So I was like, damn, I'm like, this is serious. And then I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, this idiot is bringing us all here. If he did it, let's, whatever. They claim that everybody's innocent until proven guilty, but we know that that's not true. I didn't want to say anything, but that's complete BS with our legal system. But that's the theory. Let's just assume he's guilty, and people have committed crimes like this, unfortunately, routinely. But this moron is bringing all of us here and putting us through all this stuff because he's just horny and wants to like use an underage girl to just have this like little sexual experience that now he can become somebody's butt buddy in jail for 100 years. Like, this is the world that we live in, and this to me, I'm just like, in my mind, I was like, I need to throw up, like, just with all the things that, I'm sharing, on my channel and just what I know now about the world, how stupid this is. I'm like, this is a bad place for me to be. And thankfully they asked us at the end, is there anybody who just genuinely feels like they don't belong here? And I raised my hand. And then I also complained about another law, just again, hoping that, they would it would detract me from being picked. And then those two things, thankfully, were enough for me to not get selected, because I wouldn't even be able to pay attention. It's not that I just wouldn't care. I would just be completely apathetic to the whole process, and whether he's guilty or innocent, I just wouldn't care. I'd be like, this moron is bringing us here for this. And then if he was found guilty, I would just automatically, I would throw the book at him. I didn't tell anybody this, but that's the mindset that I would be in. I'm like, if this idiot wastes all of our time, public taxpayer money, all these people are sitting here having to listen to this moron defense that he just had this moment where he wanted to terrorize a girl just so he could like take her hand and use it to grab his own stuff. And then this is happening. I'll be like, just kill the guy. Like, this guy's a complete idiot. And I would have no patience for that with the mindset that I have right now. And I would be consistent. If anybody would do something like that, I don't care who it is, including myself, that's just insane. I'll just be like, just end me. If I'm that stupid, I just don't belong, here. That's so dumb. Unfortunately, it's common that there are people like that, and doing that regularly. And then the funny thing is, the girl was like going through this stupid PowerPoint presentation, treating us like 5-year-olds. Like, what do you think a young girl could lie about? What do kids lie about? What are the different things they lie about? She's like, people are like, everything. And then they're like, what else? I'm like, okay, yeah, everything. What else besides everything? This is how stupid like the prosecutor is. And then we're all just like, oh, what just happened here? And then I think she didn't quite, get her own stupidity in her statement, but she's literally just treating us like we're 5-year-olds. And then she's like, what does a pedophile look like? And in my mind, I was absolutely ready to raise my hand. I'm like, majority of our politicians, like everybody in leadership around the world, judges, I would have obviously got some kind of reprimand for saying stuff like that. But this is like what I was saying in my mind. And then so thinking in my mind. And so I literally, like, underneath my breath, I'm like, what the hell's happening here? And then so that was, again, like about another hour. And then the defense guy was really much more polite and less just treating us like he's not treating us like children. He was just being polite. And I think he has to posture himself that way because he's trying to imbue sympathy for his client. But he was just much more direct, and like, is there anybody out there who just feels like they would have such a strong bias to prosecute somebody for being accused of a crime like this? And then, one woman was like, well, I'm a teacher, and I'm inclined to like, believe a child's story just in order to report it. I just have to in my profession, so I'd probably have a slight bias. And then, a couple people came up with reasons why, they would have a bias potentially towards believing the child story over the accused. And so he was much more direct and, in my opinion, polite, and less sort of pedantic. And then so, the funny thing is, this was sort of the highlight for me, and I was so tempted. I swear to you, I'm not joking. My hand was halfway up. The prosecutor, when she was talking, she was like, what types of evidence would you need to feel compelled to convict, knowing the few facts that we knew about the case? We knew roughly the time period. We knew what he was accused of. We knew approximately the age of the girl, and what county it was in, and what the penalty potentially is. So we knew that. And then so she was like, well, what other evidence would you maybe want to see? And then people were like, if there are other witnesses, what was the post really trauma, of the girl, and did her behavior change? All these like good things. And then the woman mentioned, what about stuff that we see on CSI, and like, what about, GPS and satellites? And I was this tempted to put on my hand. Like, I just want to be clear to the court that I'm a flat earther. And if somebody presents satellite based evidence, I'm going to contest the source and then want proof of the satellites and, they're accurate. I was so close, and that would have absolutely got me. I would say on the bad side of the prosecution, but potentially, on the good side of the defense if they were planning to use cell phone data. But I don't know. It would have maybe worked against me in both, because like, again, if I say I'm a flat earther, God's involved, and then so that's why flat earth to me is such a powerful truth, and it affects every aspect of our lives, and it affected my life today in the courtroom, because I'm like, why are we here? If God exists, and I know and I'm sort of saying this kind of sarcastically, because our whole world is essentially atheist in the church and out. Why are we here? Like, just God's going to deal with this, like, just, I'm not saying we don't have courts and stuff, but we don't have to make it into this kind of a spectacle. If a person admits to it or not, it's ultimately God's going to deal with it. He's going to make something happen to that person, whether he goes to jail or not. If he did what he's accused of, God's not going to just let that go. Like, come on, this is a child who they told us was under 14 years old. So one would think very, very innocent, and no one is asking for this kind of treatment. And then stuff like that, sexual, physical things are very, very difficult for adults to get over, much less young children. So that's not going to just fly under God's radar. Like, God's going to absolutely seek out all of our, actions and even our thoughts. That's what's scary about the God of the Bible. People can even think those thoughts. And I am sure at some point in my life have lusted after an underage girl, and that's not going to just, well, God's like, whatever, what I remember you did that sometimes, but just whatever, like, no. That's why things have happened to me. I've had a bulging disc in my neck, and who knows what's going to happen for all the other sort of things that I say under my breath about God and towards other people, and I'm not excited about it, but it's just the reality. If God exists, and to me the God of the Bible is the most logical one to start with and to look into. The Bible says he searches out our thoughts, because obviously those lead to actions. And I think that's in many ways the very, very scary thing about, the judgment that comes from God, that all of us, really, probably most men, God can find fault like this in a spiritual sense, and then we may not have to report to a courthouse and deal with this kind of nonsense, but it's no different with God, and so that's scary. And then so all these things will have to be dealt with. Thankfully, we have, Jesus Christ and the work that he's done on the cross, but that doesn't remove the fact that we may have to deal with these things, in the flesh, and there are judgments in place. Stubbing our toe, everything that happens to us, car accidents, my bulging disc in my neck, I've had that twice, health problems, just everything that happens to us is a form of a judgment, and again, there's impossible for us to know the optimization that's going on and why it's happening. And it's confusing because even somebody righteous and perfect experienced a heinous judgment of being hung on the cross. So it's not even always necessarily sin. And Jesus says this when his disciples ask him about a homeless person or person born blind. What did he do, or what did his parents do? And he said it was not sin, because of sin. It was just the fact that this experience of God to heal and the power and glory of God to be shown. So God is doing things that we cannot know, and he's orchestrating and crafting a narrative that is way too complex. But it's logical to think and know that we reap what we sow. Whether you believe in reincarnation or not, whether it's decisions we've made in our lifetime or past lives, it really doesn't matter, because like I said, the optimization is too complex for us to know even in this lifetime. But there are consequences for that. And so this individual, again, I'm not saying don't have a court thing, but it should be run by spiritual people, and people who are close to God, and they would just ask God, like, what do we do with an individual like this? And God will reveal things, if people earnestly seek him. And the Bible says this, that anybody who earnestly seeks God and wisdom and knowledge and guidance, of course God would give it, but the problem is we don't have anybody on earth who does that. And it's not funny, it's just what it is. So This is the most godless I think that the entire world can get. Our courts are claiming God and asking us to raise our right hand and all this kind of stuff, but God is nowhere to be found, and it's evident not just from the process and the procedure in the courts, but the fact that there are people like this who are that perverted and that horny to take advantage and to absolutely terrorize and potentially screw up a young girl's life or her whole life, having to deal with the fact that she's gone through that, and potentially somebody that is close to her and in her family, just for literally like a two millisecond high that this moron will get. And then now he's looking at 5 to 99 years in jail. And so, if I was one of the 12 selected and we found that this person was guilty, I would throw everything at him, because this idiot wanted, again, if he's guilty, if he's guilty, he asked that the jury also set the punishment. And so I'd throw everything at him. I'd be like, just kill the guy, even though the death penalty wasn't on the table for something like this, aggravated sexual assault. But I'm like, just whatever, like, get this guy out of here, just put him in jail. He wants to, have somebody touch his wang, it's like, well, there's a bunch of dudes in jail who will do that. Just give him 99 years of that if he wants that. If he just really wants to go and terrorize a young girl's life and take her hand and put it on his private part, and that's fun for him, well, okay, yeah, let's give him that then. Give him 99 years of that and let him see, how much he likes that and whatever else they're going to do to him in there. And so this world is completely satanic. This is a bit tongue-in-cheek, but it's also very, very serious that, again, the Bible says that America is filled with every unclean and hateful bird, every foul spirit that God could conjure up and create exists here. And I witnessed that today, not just with the person accused. Again, if he's guilty, if he's innocent, there's somebody else who's done something like this, obviously, unfortunately, probably happening literally right now as I record this, but also in the court system, and just female judge, female prosecutor, and women, usurping authority over men, which is, again, antichrist, which, again, everything going on in the world is against the Bible. And so that doesn't shock me. And all they're doing is just making jokes. The woman was like, oh, I'm from Oklahoma, there's a Vegas joke here that I could say, but I don't have enough time. I'm like, what are you like, is this a stand-up comedy show? Like, come on, this individual is being accused of something that could get him 5 to 99 years in jail. And you could almost tell, like, it was awkward with the guy, because I was looking at his reaction when these kind of quote-unquote jokes were being made. I would be fuming if I was sitting there and I was innocent. I'd be like, what the hell is this going on? You morons are trying to run a comedy show, and these morons, the same ones running this comedy show, are trying to put me in jail for 5 to 99 years. I'm like, let's get this shit on the road. And I think all of us were thinking that as potential jurors as well. It's like, stop this dog and pony show. This is retarded. And so, to me, again, this whole system, it's impossible for me to get excited about any aspect of it. I don't want to be involved in it. I cannot take it seriously. They make everybody pay for parking, and they're like, make sure you get the parking voucher, so you only have to pay $6 instead of the $21 for parking. So people are volunteering their time, but they have to pay for their own parking. They have to take time off work. They don't feed us. They put us in a hot room with like 300 or 400 other people, and expect us to sit and listen to this pervert in his defense. And so, but all the bankers and all the government, they're running deficits, all that till cows come home, and that's all good. But us normal people have to sit and hotbox it and then listen to these idiots. And I'm talking about the courtroom people as well. Just these morons, really. God is nowhere to be found, and that cannot go on forever, because thankfully there are some people, hopefully, on earth that God does care about, even though it doesn't seem that he does, that he will rescue, because the world is just completely anti-God, and then on my walk on the way home, Houston downtown is just a complete freak show, and it's just, everybody's just out of their mind, like they're just, there's a lot of homeless, which feel very, very sorry that is the case. There's a lot of people I'm assuming are on drugs, with just the way that they're behaving, and it's a mess, and it's sad. Like, automatically in a 5-minute walk, everybody will get asked, a person who doesn't look quote unquote homeless will get asked, for money, or for food or something, and I think that it's the scariest for me actually when people ask for food and not money, because they're at the point now where they don't even necessarily even have the energy to go and get food, or maybe they're not even allowed in certain establishments and stuff like that. And so that's mortifying, and that's routine. You just got to walk down some streets in downtown Houston for just 5 minutes, and somebody will ask, and so this is the world. To me, this is a perfect microcosm what I experienced this afternoon of America, and the place that I believe is Mystery Babylon, and it's fitting those prophecies tighter and tighter every single day. So I'm going to post a little snippet right after this of a rapper named DJ Khaled, who's an idiot and does not know how to pronounce jewelry, and it sounds like jury, and I was on jewelry duty today, and it's a joke. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.
And the problem is, DJ Khaled owes nobody no money. First of all, I have so much jewelry. I got more jewelry, and it's not even about the jewelry, because
it's jewelry. What is jewelry?
You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, and the problem is, DJ Khaled owes nobody no money. First of all, I have so much jewelry. I got more jewelry, and it's not even about the jewelry, because
it's jewelry. What is jewelry?
You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day,